ladies and gentlemen, it is here. The 6v6 dev blog post is up. I was in the middle of eating a pepperoni pizza when I heard the news. And I'm a little late, fashionably, but we're here. And we're going to be going over it. Now, I will say, there is a lot in this. And I want to preface this by saying, Aaron Keller, thank you so much for addressing this, for talking to the community, for hearing people, and actually taking the time to do this. There is a lot. I've read over most of it. I'm recording it now to go over it again with you guys. I encourage anyone who has any interest in this to go through and read this entire blog. But I'm going to, keep it kind of short and sweet and go over the big points, the real, important things that were said, in my opinion, and the things that the general population of the game should hear and, get to grips with about how he responded. Anyways, though, with all of that out of the way, we're going to go ahead and get into it, and I'm jumping in on the thoughts on 6v6 part of the dev blog. Let's begin, shall we? The game started its life with 6 players on each team. I discussed why we moved away from 6v6, but that doesn't mean it's without any merit. There were moments in madness that could happen with 12 players in a match that just don't quite coalesce when there are 10. It was almost too much to keep track of. Correction, it was too much to keep track of at times, but that was part of the charm. Amen, Aaron. You said it yourself. Amen to that. There are big moments in Overwatch 2? No. But they don't quite have the same chaotic, over-the-top feeling to them. Again, amen to that, Aaron. We're self-aware. Part of that chaos allowed players to feel less pressure in a match. There was an extra player to take up a bit of slack for someone that was performing poorly. And since that player was a tank, they had quite a bit of impact. There were a lot more hit points and defensive capabilities to burn through, which had a stabilizing effect on gameplay. Teams would fold a bit slower than they do now, which is something that I find interesting because I remember hearing that 5v5 would actually, it would have less steamrolls in them, but now we have the developer or the lead developer of the game saying himself that, in fact, no, that is the opposite, and 5v5 does, it is more steamrolling. Anyways, though, I'm liking it so far. We went over some of the issues of tank synergy earlier, but having 2 of them allowed one to focus on protecting their backline while the other held ground or pushed into the enemy team. The tank role had a lot of depth in understanding how to work with the other tank on the team. This part of the mastery curve took a long time to learn, and for the small group of people devoted to it, that was part of its allure. We mentioned the difficulty in balancing tanks for 6v6 earlier, but the past year and a half has shown us that there are issues with balancing tanks for 5v5 as well. More so than there ever was in 6v6, mind you. For much of Overwatch 2, tanks have been fairly balanced. But when one of them becomes a powerful outlier like Mauga, Roadhog, Orisa, Sigma, we can keep going, Diva, that can be felt strongly in the world of one tank. Okay, so where we're at right now, I like that he's addressing the points that a lot of people brought up. The tank synergy thing is something that maybe I'll talk about in another video. Again, I'm keeping it centered on the thoughts on 6v6 and the what's next section of this blog. But as for what he said here, the issue of tank synergy, I don't quite see it. I think that it makes tank even more fun. I think that is a big reason why people enjoyed playing tank so much in Overwatch 1. And he also mentioned that there was more health points and defensive capabilities to burn through. Aaron, I'm going to be honest, man. I think now, in the current state of Overwatch 2, there are a little bit more things to burn through. Like Reinhardt and Orisa and Sigma, and I can keep going. But I see your point, and you know what? It holds some credibility. I mean, I would hope so. But, okay. The part about steamrolls. Yes, this has been something that has been very apparent in 5v5. Having that one less player on each team definitely shows the weaknesses of one individual or multiple individuals way more than it ever did in 6v6. And I think that's a really big part of why people like 6v6 so much, because even me, whenever I have bad games in 6v6, it wasn't as glaring. because there was someone else to help or someone else to pick up slack that I was leaving. Or if my teammate was having a bad game, then I could try to do more. And I felt like I could do more because everyone could die. Anyways, though, let's go on to what's next. And I think this is the big one. I think this is the part that a lot of people were waiting for because I believe this is their official statement on what they're going to do about 5v5 and 6v6. But let's go ahead and get into it. And here we go. Now we're diving into what I think is the most important part of this dev blog, the what's next portion. And I think this is going to shed light on what the team is wanting to do on this, 5v5, 6v6 stuff. Aaron says, okay, that was a lot of setup. I think I've put more effort into this essay, I think I've put more effort into this than any essay I wrote in college. And you know what, Aaron? Again, I before all the jokes and all the things I'm saying that might come off as mean or harmful or, I do appreciate it, like person to person. And I'm sure the rest of the community does too, that there is dialogue going on about this. And before I continue, again, no matter what is said, thank you from like the bottom of my heart. Thank you for listening to your community. Anyways, let's get into it. So where do we go from here? At the end of the day, we want to make the game that players want to play. Because of the challenges mentioned previously, we are focusing on making 5v5 the best experience that it can be. However, because we operate as a service to our players, we always remain open-minded to reevaluating our decisions based on your actions and feedback, to give you the best game experience we can. Rather than introduce a disruptive, permanent change to the game, we'd prefer to explore the space further and make changes based on that exploration. Okay, this is good. That means they're not going to instantly slam 6v6 if they were to into the game and just let everything implode. And you know what? I think that's a good thing. I like that. Anyways, next paragraph. With that said, in bold, we're looking at running a series of events to try out different core team composition formats in Overwatch 2. The community has just once or twice suggested a test. Why not put various forms of 6v6 in the game in order to gauge the results? We agree. And based on your feedback, we're exploring how we can test different forms of 6v6 in the game to gauge the results. This is taking some time, however, for reasons that may not be readily apparent. Holy shit, my arms look like sticks. Anyway, wow. This right here is like the glimmer of hope. It's the new hope, like in Star Wars. This is amazing. So they're going to try it. And they probably have been. But they're going to put it in the game and let the community try it. Which is awesome. This is awesome. Because the people who haven't gotten to play the 6v6 code or jump in the server and play 6v6 with people in there haven't experienced it. And there's probably millions of people who play Overwatch 2 that never played the original game. So this is going to open up so many opinions from the player base that have never gotten to experience 6v6 before. And I think this is a great thing because I am a firm believer that 6v6 is just the better format. So I think once people experience this, it's going to change the landscape of where Overwatch 2 is heading. And again, it's going to take time. Development is something that takes a really, really long time, and it's not exactly the easiest thing ever. I want to go to school for it. I'm aware of how difficult it is. But I'm happy that stuff like this is being said. So again, hats off to you, Aaron, and your team. Let's continue on. The first and honestly largest reason is the need to do this in a way that allows the game to have optimized technical performance. I'm referring to frame rate and memory constraints with 12 players in a match. Oh no. Fuck. There have been quite a few upgrades in addition to Overwatch 2 that have impact on performance of the game. These range from the new features like allied outlines and enabling healer vision by default, the addition of more technically demanding hero kits, as well as visual upgrades to UI, heroes, and maps. In a 6v6 setting, these upgrades can have significant impacts for our players, causing the game to underperform on older systems. Overwatch is a fast-paced game, and maintaining a game that runs smoothly across all of our platforms is important for players' experience. Whoa, okay. This isn't an argument that I've heard a lot. And I guess, logically, from a developer standpoint, this is a big one. I had heard from some people that this is a possibility, that why 66 isn't coming back, or why they're not trying it. And yeah, it makes sense. I don't know anyone who's played Overwatch 1 can agree when I say this. The old engine felt like it ran a lot smoother. The inputs were more crisp. The game just felt nicer. It's kind of like if anyone has played CS2 compared to Global Offensive, you know what I'm saying? The game feels a bit more clunky. And Overwatch 2 does have a bit of that clunk to it compared to the predecessor, or not predecessor, the game Overwatch 1, the original. And I guess what he's saying here is with all these additions in the new game engine, putting another tank in with all of the upgraded graphics, all of the new things that are in place would cause the frame rates on older systems to dip down and make it less enjoyable, which is a really, really strong point. I feel bad for them. Obviously, Overwatch 2 was rushed out by Bobby Kotick and the other executives that wanted to print money for the game. And, it's kind of a hard place. I know they want to make the game better. And this is, again, a really good point to make for a lot of people who don't understand. And I feel for them on that. Let's continue, though. While limited time tests could arrive sooner, the team is still investigating exactly how long it'll take to permanently increase performance across the game. This would be a large effort that would most likely take at least several seasons to accomplish. Fair. I mean, with the game being live service and having to pump out new seasons, new art, new things constantly, it's going to take a long time. Especially with all the reworks and stuff you had planned originally for 5v5. I can see it, man. And again, I feel for them on that. That is a lot of work, especially with the engine not being built properly for it. But we wouldn't be in this mess in the first place if 5v5 never happened. And again, I feel for them, but it's kind of like it was avoidable. But with that being said, let's continue on to the next paragraph. Another issue, and one that still gives me anxiety about opening this Pandora's box, is what to do with queue times if enough players prefer 66 to keep some form of it around. The team was not able to solve this issue previously. While we have some ideas now, there's no guarantee that they will work. Is there a world where people are willing to live with long queue times to play this format? Maybe. No, definitely. But that's a pretty risky move to make. We also have tens of millions of new players that only have played 5v5. We want to be openly mindful not to frustrate those who like this game as it is today. Again, another fair point, Aaron, like I mentioned before. But once you put the 6v6 version of the game in the new players' hands and make it readily available for the people to try, I think this is going to change, because the game, obviously queue times were an issue, especially in higher elos. They were definitely a problem. But I think to play a better version of the game, to enjoy your experience more when you wait an extra 3 minutes to get a better quality game, is worth it. In my opinion. That's just me. I would rather wait an extra 3-5 minutes to play a better game. And that's just me. But again, I see this argument. It's the one that the 5v5ers have had for so long. And I can concede to it slightly. But I would rather wait a bit longer to play a better game. But let's continue. The outcome of these tests would give us a lot of valuable information to consider moving forward. We'd run the test for a few weeks and gauge its interest from the community. Then we'd measure the impact it had on the other experience in Overwatch 2, like 5v5, arcade, etc. We'd take the lessons from this playtest to see what we could learn about the mode within the current game ecosystem and for the future of Overwatch. We would reflect carefully on the learnings from whatever tests we run and explore how to best give players what's being asked for. Whether that's a world of 5v5s, 6v6, or even both, is for the future us to figure out. And you know what? There's so many different things they can do here. They can have separate competitive modes, 5v5, 6v6. They could change it up one season and then go back to 5v5 and compare and contrast. Make the game wild. Because, again, Aaron, as you mentioned previously, Overwatch is beautiful when there's teamwork and chaos, in my opinion. I think the game is amazing when there is an aspect of teamwork, chaos, and big playmaking. I think that's what makes Overwatch amazing, and it's sad that it's not as apparent anymore, and I think that's what makes this game great. And it makes me really, really happy to hear this coming from Blizzard, in all honesty. It does. Even though it's not going to be implemented immediately, The fact that they're looking into it, they're trying to gauge a plan to figure this out, is amazing. But let's continue on to the last paragraph, I assume. I'm going to jump on a soapbox for a moment. When you look at the changes to Overwatch since its inception, it's clear that many of those have reduced some of the variety within an Overwatch match. We get feedback from some players that Overwatch can feel the same from game to game. While much of this is attributed to 5v5, we feel that there is more at play here. Besides running experiments with 6v6, we'd like to run some that re-examine the ways we tried solving previous problems, specifically with the goal of bringing some of the freedom back to an Overwatch match, without the severity of issues that accompanied it. For instance, we think there could be we think there could be other ways of putting a team together that aren't quite as rigid as set composition, but not as loose as open queue. We'll be running at least one quick play hack based on this idea in Season 13. There are some gotchas to this direction, but after reading 400 pages of this blog, I hope you're able to see that there are trade-offs to many of the decisions that go into the game and into any game, really. Amazing. As I mentioned in a couple of my videos, I really did think that Aaron Keller was going to come in here and just stonewall this. Like, actually just stonewall it, say no. No. But you know what? That didn't happen. And this gives me hope. Like, a lot of hope for the game. The fact that they're looking into it. They're going to try it. They're going to try switching up how compositions are set. All of this stuff is really interesting to me. And I think it's interesting to them as well. I pray that they're able to come to a logical conclusion and they get the right data and the right things. And I urge you guys, for when the 6v6 hack comes out, play it. Please play it. Especially if you haven't. Play it, please. I'm begging you. Try it. It's going to change the game. It's ironic that it's going back to the format of the original, but it will change the game. Anyways, let's continue on to wrap it up for now. Your feedback has driven both our inspiration and commitment to testing new ideas in the game. We want to be super thoughtful about how we implement new ideas into the live game, because there are millions of players who jump on Overwatch each season, and we want anything we put into the game to benefit the community as a whole. Ultimately, the Overwatch team wants to continue building the game that you want to play after season, or season after season. This blog, or thesis rather, is just the start of the conversation. This isn't the last time we're going to be getting into 5v5 or 6v6, and we can't wait to share more about our plans in the future. In closing, we appreciate you so much, and we love seeing your passion and dedication to the game. Team 4 and the Overwatch community. The team hears you, we see you, and we're incredibly thankful to be on this ride with all of you. We can't wait to share more in the upcoming months. Let's make a great game together. Aaron Keller. This, again, there is more that has been left out. There's more pages at the start that we didn't go over, which is his arguing for 5v5 and some of the other reasons. Again, if you guys are interested, please go read it yourself. I just wanted to cover the big stuff. Amazing, really. I'm happy. I'm actually happy with all of you guys. Team 4, Aaron. This message right here you left at the end, amazing. This is what we want, especially the people who really care about the game. It's going to take time. Nothing will come instantly, and you know that's always the harsh reality of things, especially in game development. Stuff takes a lot of time, and the complications they're going to have to work through around the engine and stuff like that. But again, awesome dev blog. I am excited, and I'm so ready to see and hear more from you guys as a team. I pray to God this isn't the last time this is talked about, and I really hope that one day something will come of it, and I know something will eventually. There's nothing really more I have to say from a consumer's perspective. I am happy. This has made me happy, and I hope it makes all of you guys happy hearing this from him. And yeah, I mean, man, really cool, good stuff. Yeah, that's all I have to say, man. If you guys enjoyed this video, please leave a like or comment down below. If you didn't like it, leave a dislike. We're closing in on 2,500 subs. Don't worry, I'm going to keep everyone in the loop with all of this discussion that's going on inside of the game. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, evening, or night, and much love. Peace.